Hello, in this video I'm going to look at when Camille Vasquez cross-examined Amber Heard, and this was right at the end of the trial, just before their closing arguments. I saw a video with a lawyer in it who had been present during Amber Heard's testimony, and he said that she cried after this, after the jury had left the courtroom, so it wasn't for show. She really did cry because she got so emotional, he said. As did his other lawyer, Ben Chu.
And then you hear the verdict, a win on each one of Johnny Depp's claims. What was your reaction?
It was emotional. I mean, we were so thrilled for him. That was great, and it was a great moment.
This wasn't just about doing the job and going home, you know, and so she clearly believed what she was saying.
Ms. Heard, you just testified that this case has been very hard for you. So let's talk about that and why.
All right.
Your lies have been exposed to the world multiple times, right?
I haven't lied about anything I've been here to say.
She knows Amber Heard is a liar. She doesn't need her to agree with this. She doesn't need her to take any responsibility for herself. She's simply expressing to her and to the jury that she is a liar.
You sat here and told this jury that the events in Hicksville started with Mr. Depp getting really upset about a woman leaning on you. Is that correct?
Yes, that's effectively what happened, yeah.
You testified that he actually grabbed that woman's wrist and twisted it, right?
And told her that he could effectively break her wrist by saying he knew how many pounds of pressure, or asking her how many pounds of pressure it took to break a human wrist.
But your own witness, your former best friend, Rocky Pennington, she didn't corroborate that, did she?
What I want you to take from this is not that you should go up to every narcissist and tell them what they're doing. You know, if you come across a violent narcissist like Amber Heard is, then that's not a safe thing to do. Even if you're in a public place, it's not necessarily a safe thing to do because they could try and get revenge, you know. They could come after you if they know where you live, if they know people you know, they could really try and cause destruction. But what I'm getting at is more what will be going on in Camille's head and what her intentions are. That's something that you can take away from this.
Mr. Knight also testified that he charged Mr. Depp only $62 for the damaged light fixture. You heard that, correct?
I did.
In Hicksville, you were the only one that was jealous that Mr. Depp was spending time from other people. Isn't that correct, Ms. Heard?
That isn't correct.
In Hicksville, you were the one who was upset that Mr. Depp wasn't giving you enough attention.
Incorrect again.
Notice she doesn't need to argue with Amber Heard because she's letting the jury sit with her response.
Ms. Heard, you told this jury that you had no idea the press was going to be at the courthouse when you got your TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I said I did not have anything to do with it. Yes.
No. My question again. You told this jury that you had no idea that the press was going to be outside after you got the ex-party TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I apologize. I must have misunderstood Ms. Vasquez.
In fact, you testified that you were, quote, shocked when you saw press when you were leaving the courthouse. Yes?
Yes.
You weren't shocked at all, though, were you?
Incorrect. It was
You knew the
horrifying.
press would be at the courthouse, right, Ms. Heard?
No.
Well, you did bring your publicist to the courthouse with you on May 27th, 2016, didn't you?
I sure did. I'm a public figure. I brought my publicist in case it blew up. In case. And
You actually
I'm glad
had
I did.
alerted TMZ that you would be filing a TRO against Mr. Depp that very day,
No, I did
didn't
not.
you?
No, I did
The
not.
one day you didn't bother to wear makeup to cover up the mark on your face.
I did not call TMZ or any other news source or paparazzi source. No one.
When she asked these questions, she didn't actually need anything or even want anything from Amber Heard. She was just making points. They were like rhetorical questions, even though Amber was expected to give a response.
And he testified at the end of the video where you can be seen smirking. I know you testified earlier that you haven't been smirking in this trial, but you sure were caught on camera smirking in that video.
I disagree with that.
Was also not included in the TMZ video.
Everyone can watch that video and you can determine whether you think it's funny to me or not.
That's because the video came from you, right, Ms. Heard?
No, it did not.
You edited
That video
out
did
the
not
portions.
come to me. No, I mean, come from me.
Ms. Heard, You edited out the portions that made you look bad.
You'd think that being put in your place would mean that you have to accept that you've been put in your place. And Amber Heard certainly didn't do that. But it was still really satisfying. And I think that was because Camille Vasquez didn't put up with anything from Amber Heard. She was very confident, she was very assertive, she spoke to Amber Heard like she was a liar. She spoke to her with a very different tone of voice from the tone of voice she used with other people. So when she spoke to the judge, she spoke with a lot of respect, for example. She wasn't going to be taken off at a tangent by Amber Heard. She was bringing her straight back again to the question.
I don't know what video TMZ
I'm talking
received.
about Mr. Tremaine's testimony, Ms. Heard. Let's just
So you're
focus on
asking me to
Mr.
repeat
Tremaine.
his testimony?
This was a distraction technique, I think, aimed at frustrating Camille and throwing the attention onto her. If she showed frustration, Amber Heard could point to that emotional response, and then Camille would look like the crazy one. So you could see how someone could easily fall into that trap. They could get frustrated. They could raise their voice. They could say, "Of course I don't want you to repeat his testimony. It's so obvious that I'm not saying that." You know, they could say all sorts of things in an angry way, or they could get upset. They could say, "Why is this so hard? Why won't you understand what I'm trying to say?"
I don't know what video TMZ
I'm talking
received.
about Mr. Tremaine's testimony, Ms. Heard. Let's just
So you're
focus on
asking me to
Mr.
repeat
Tremaine.
his testimony?
No, I'm asking you if you recall hearing him say those words to this jury.
Yes,
Under
I heard his testimony.
Amber Heard is acting as if this is an argument. But in this case, it's not about her having to beat Amber. She doesn't need Amber Heard to believe her or to doubt herself. She's got people watching, the jury, and they're the people who matter. She didn't need anything from Amber Heard.
You edited that video before you gave it to TMZ so that only Mr. Depp would look bad. Yes?
That's absurd.
Right in the middle of your divorce proceedings.
Again, you're very wrong.
I'd like to show you a picture that's already admitted into evidence.
So she cried after this, but she didn't cry during it. She didn't cry because of how Amber Heard was behaving. She didn't ask Amber Heard to stop being like that. She didn't say, "Why are you lying?
Another liar on the stand.
I just know that that's incorrect.
Right.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to Johnny? We know you're lying, just admit it." None of that happened, obviously. You know, she wouldn't be very good at her job if it did happen. But that is a mistake that so many people make when they're talking to a toxic person. And the reason why is because these people don't accept the abuser is who he or she is. And they don't accept that their behaviour is their informed choice. So what I mean by that is they think of their behaviour as some kind of mistake. You know, that they're only behaving like that because they misunderstand something. They want to make them care so that they'll behave differently. And that plays right into the narcissist's hands because it gives him or her power while leaving them defenseless. I'm going to repeat that because I think it's important. They want to make them care so that they'll behave differently. So they're trying to change the behaviour from the other person. That's where their focus is. You can't protect yourself if you don't accept someone's intentions for what they are. Camille is doing things differently. She always demonstrates that she takes Amber Heard's behaviour at face value and that she sees it as a reflection of who Amber Heard is. That's the difference.
I thought you testified earlier in this trial that you didn't know how to leak things.
I
Remember
don't.
that? Right.
The tone of her voice is very accusatory and a bit demeaning, really. You can hear there's some contempt for Amber Heard, which is fitting. You know, it feels right because of the way Amber Heard is behaving.
And you heard Mr. Tremaine testify that TMZ received the cabinet video the same day you landed at LAX. Yes?
I don't know if I don't know if that's what his testimony was. I'm sorry.
You heard Mr. Tremaine testify that the cabinet video was posted 15 minutes after TMZ received it. Yes?
That's what I heard him say.
And that this could only have been possible if the video was received directly from the source. Yes?
I heard him say that. I don't know if that's true or if that's possible because
And
it didn't
you heard
come from me. I was
Mr.
flying.
Tremaine
So
testify.
I know that's incorrect is what I mean to say.
another liar on the stand?
I just know that that's incorrect.
Right. You must have also heard Mr. Tremaine testify that the version of the cabinet video that TMZ received was incomplete compared to the video the jury saw in this trial. Did you hear that?
The video that you have seen is complete.
Again, she plays the idiot to distract. Camille could get wound up at this point and waste a lot of energy, and that would be in Amber Heard's favour. But she doesn't.
Right. But the one TMZ got the day before your deposition in the divorce was incomplete.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
He testified that at the beginning portion of the video where you set up the camera, that wasn't included in the video that TMZ received.
Why does she deserve respect when she's not treating anyone with respect because she's lying all the time? And she's got this arrogant, contemptuous look in her own eyes.
That's because the video came from you, right, Ms. Heard?
No, it did not.
You edited
that video
out
did
the
not
portions.
Come to me. Come from me.
Ms. Heard, you edited out the portions that made you look bad before sending it to TMZ.
You're very wrong about that.
So
if I wanted
Mr.
to leak
Depp
information, I could have done it in a more effective way, a lot sooner and a lot more.
Because
I
you
was
knew exactly
living
how
with
to
a
do that,
mountain
right?
of this evidence. If I wanted to leak it, I could have done a lot more with it.
I thought you testified earlier in this trial that you didn't know how to leak things.
I don't.
The mistake that so many people make is to lose their power straight away by putting tons of energy into a toxic person when they're actually being abused. So they keep losing energy with explaining themselves and begging for answers and trying to understand the other person. Even when they're not in a situation with them, they might go home and think about it all night, and worry about it and worry if they got something wrong or if something could be said to change the other person's mind, that they could finally understand. And so on. Instead of taking a step back and looking at the behaviour for what it is. That is what this lawyer is so good at doing. She's not getting taken in by any of the manipulation. The best way to do that is to look at someone's intentions. A lot of people don't notice what someone's intentions are. They get too caught up in trying to communicate with them, trying to understand them and be understood by them and so on. But when you ask yourself, why is someone behaving like this? What do they want from this situation? Then you can guess what their intention is, and it isn't that hard. Because when I ask people, they come up with it really quickly, even though that's not something they have been thinking about. With Amber Heard, we can see her intentions quite clearly. She wants to manipulate. She wants to take someone off at a tangent. She wants to confuse. She wants to make someone think that she is the victim, so she's turning the roles around. She wants to distract. That's a big one she uses. She wants to distract with loads of emotion and loads of excessive, irrelevant detail. And Camille knows what she's doing. And that's why she's so good at continuing and getting to the point each time. And the reason why she knows is because of what I keep saying. She doesn't need anything from Amber Heard. This gives her the ability to think logically. When you need something emotionally from someone, you can only think emotionally. You can't think logically and your eyes can't be fully open. So in other words, your focus is on needing them to behave like you want them to give you what you need. And that blinds you to their true character and to their true intentions. If you were to face up to those, then you'd see that they're not going to give you what you need. And that's too painful for a lot of people to face. So their unconscious is making them have this hope, and that gets in their way. But the great thing is you don't have to suddenly stop needing something from someone. If you start to accept their behaviour is as it is, you will find yourself automatically not needing anything from them, because you will start to force yourself to see them for who they are. If you find yourself in a situation like this, where somebody is, for example, lying to you, and you find yourself saying, why are you doing this to me? Or can you see how much this hurts me? Or, it's not fair. I've done all this for you and this is hurting me. Or, I feel so awful. I love you. Please stop being like this. What's wrong? Can we talk about it? Just tell me, anything like that. or even anger, even, why are you doing this to me? How can you treat me like this? You're so selfish. What's wrong with you? I don't understand you. You know, any of this, it's all energy. It's all energy that's being put into somebody who has a different motive to your motive. Your motive might be to get empathy from them, to get them to understand you, to connect with them so that all of this can stop and they'll stop playing games with you. You know, they'll stop pretending that they'll start to care about you. But they don't have the motive of wanting to change their behaviour. They're doing it because they're getting something from it. So it's working in their favour. They have no desire to change. And what they're getting from it is a reaction from you. As long as you're angry, or as long as you're upset, as long as you're confused, as long as you're putting energy into them, they're winning. They're getting what they want. They've got distraction away from them and their motives. Once you've asked yourself what it is they want and why they're behaving like that, you can then take action. You can decide what your goal needs to be. And you can change your goal from what it was to a new healthy one. If somebody's trying to take you off and distract you, or gaslight you, or blame you for something they've actually done, and so on. If they're doing this kind of thing, they want to manipulate you. That means they are attacking you. It's an attack. So what do you need to do if someone's attacking you? What's the best goal to have in that situation? It's going to be to protect yourself. So once you start thinking in that way, okay, how am I going to protect myself? Then it's a lot easier to work out how you're going to handle that situation. If somebody is taking you off at tangents and doing what Amber Heard is doing here in court, what would be the best way to protect yourself? If you don't feel you're in any danger, if the person has never been physically violent, and if they don't appear to be a malignant narcissist, or if you know that they're never going to see you again, or that they don't know where you live or anything like that, then it would be what this lawyer's doing. It would be, this is what's happening. I know you did this. I know you're lying. And this is how it is, you know, without wanting anything back. Because as soon as you start wanting things or needing things from that person, as soon as you start putting your energy into them, you become vulnerable and you lose your power. And that way they can abuse you. As I'm editing this, I want to add in here that if they're anything like as dangerous and as unstable as Amber Heard, it's better to just safely exit the situation and to make an excuse if necessary. After that, the next thing would be to get them out of your life. As soon as you start trying to reason with them, trying to understand them, trying to be understood by them, trying to explain yourself or defend yourself or justify yourself, don't forget Jade, you know, don't justify, argue, defend or explain yourself. As soon as you do any of these things, you put energy into that situation and you lose that energy because you'll never get it back with a person like that. They want you to lose that energy because when you lose energy, you lose power and they feel like they've gained power. And that is what they're after. They're after power. There's a visual I often give my clients, and I can't even remember how this first came to me or why, but I always imagine two old-fashioned soldiers with spears. So they have spears and they have a shield. You know, they have a spear each and they have a shield. And one of them, I always imagine there's a hilltop, you know. It's a bit like a children's story, I think, this. I tend to think in these terms. And one of them is racing down the hill with his spear to the other one. You know, he's seen him, he's got him in his sights, and he wants to kill him because this is war. And the other soldier, he's got his spear, he's got his shield, but when he sees the first soldier coming, he puts both of them down on the grass. And as the soldier comes running towards him, he shouts to him, "Don't start coming towards me like that. I don't want you to stab me. You know, I could get really hurt. My mum's going to be so worried. I'm just going to feel awful if you stab me. Please just don't do this." We can talk about it. It's not fair. I haven't done anything to you. I never did anything wrong. Why would you do this to me? You know, none of this stuff is going to work because the first soldier is just thinking about how he's got his prey in his target, you know, and he needs to stab him with his spear. So he gets closer and closer, and the second soldier holds his arms out to hug that first soldier. And, you know, and that's what he does as he comes hurtling down the hill with his spear. The soldier just gives him a massive hug and says, "Oh, don't hurt me. Come on, we can work this out. You wouldn't really mean to do something like that to me, would you? Why would you even think of doing something like that? I don't understand you. You know, just explain yourself to me." And he's babbling away, and the first soldier just starts stabbing him. I mean, it becomes a pretty gruesome visual at this point. But my point is that the second soldier is trying to protect himself through asking the first soldier to protect him from his own actions, from the first soldier's actions. So the second soldier is completely reliant on the first soldier, you know, on him deciding to change his behaviour. And he's completely ignoring the motives of the first soldier. He's not stopping to ask himself, what does this soldier want by this? He's running towards me with a spear. Why would he be doing that? What does he want out of this situation? He's not even thinking about that. He's so convinced that he can get through to him, that he can maybe try and persuade him or be understood by him. And so as a result, he can't protect himself. So the only way to protect yourself is to never rely on anyone else protecting you from themselves, but to do it for yourself. And the only way to do that is to look at what their motive seems to be and decide what yours needs to be to align with theirs. So that second soldier, he sees the first soldier coming towards him, and if he has some sense this time around, let's say he somehow miraculously survived, you know, he had a lot of operations and he's now doing okay and he's back on the battlefield. This time round, he needs to see, okay, the first soldier, his goal is to stab me. I better get my shield up for one thing. You know, that's the first thing I need to do to make absolutely sure he can't stab me. And then I've got my spear ready in case I need it. And that sounds like a very simple story, and it probably sounds really obvious, but a lot of people fall into this trap. And I'd say everyone who's been in an abusive relationship falls into that trap at that time. And if you want to get out of the habit of being codependent, which is the only way to stop being in those kinds of relationships with people, then you need to start to take responsibility for protecting yourself. And that opens up a door to a whole new world, you know, starting to take that responsibility. It makes you so much more free and capable and empowered. And your relationships with the people around you completely change, because you stop needing from them the things that you used to need, because you're no longer reliant on them to feel okay. You can decide what your boundaries are going to be and how you're prepared to be treated. If you found this video useful, I'm going to be starting courses in July, 2, because I'm going to be running them simultaneously, one for Europe time zone and one for the States. In the course, we're going to be looking more at what I've been talking about in this video, so boundaries, and practicing standing up for yourself and holding your own. So, and the way that we're going to do that is I'm not going to tell you what to say. Just like in this video, I haven't suggested this is what you should say to a toxic person, because you won't need me to do that. It's just about practicing a different way of seeing things, a different way of seeing yourself, a different way of seeing the other person, and getting into the mindset of self-protection. So that's one of the things I'm going to be covering. I'm also going to be looking at how to process difficult traumatic memories, and also challenging our difficult beliefs. You know, what we do to think differently. I've developed different exercises for each of these topics. I also do a module, which this is going to sound horrible, about facing your pain. And but the point is that it sounds horrible because we all tend to avoid our pain. So because so many mental health issues are caused by people trying to escape their pain. So, you know, and whatever they do to do that. So once you learn how to do that, there are lots of things you'll find easier to do, including grieving those relationships that are no good for you so that you can move on, so that you can shift your identity. So these are the things I'm going to be looking at. And I have already had people interested in the course and I've told them that they will get a place first. But this was a long time ago. You know, I was attempting to film this course in Thailand because I wanted to do it in nature, on a beach and all the rest of it. What's happened now is I'm now going to start doing it without filming, you know, so there's not going to be any videos. We're going to meet every week and you know, and it's going to be a group course. It's going to be a small group the first time, and it's also going to be cheaper than it will be later on because I'm going to want your feedback, you know, to make sure I'm giving you exactly what you want. I expect it to be a really nice environment. You know, sometimes with my clients I think, oh, I wish they could meet each other because I think they get on really well, you know. It's funny how what people have in common who I work with, often they have the same values, for instance. I think it'll be really helpful to meet other people who have been through the same experiences as you and to start to realise that some of the ways you behave or think about yourself or think about others, you have in common with other people, that you're not alone, and that there's good reason for you to behave in the way you do and feel the way you do. And with that support and that validation, I think you'll feel stronger and inspired and motivated, I hope, by the exercises. So if you are interested, please get in touch. My email address is contact@liveabusefree.com. I'm going to leave you with a clip from the next video I'm going to put out and also some outtakes so you can see what happened when I tried to make videos. Okay, one cat is growling at the other. She's very protective over her chicken bones. And she doesn't really give him a chance. So there is a slightly abusive dynamic that goes on here, and it's a bit sad to watch, really. I take comfort in the fact that she is quite skinny.
All right, darling. You've been so good, haven't you? So quiet, yeah. So quiet. Do you want to come up here? No, going over there. Good boy. Yeah. That's right. That's much better than the sofa. It is. Why are you walking towards the sofa? No. What are you doing, darling? Okay. Yeah, you can sit there. Purry. Yeah.
If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.